Everyone, welcome to Time to Thrive. This is your host, Bethany Meadows. Today's guest is Melissa Smith, an award-winning virtual assistant consultant and the founder of The PBA, a premier firm specializing in connecting clients with their ideal virtual assistant. Melissa is the author of 2 best-selling books, Hire the Right Virtual Assistant and Become a Successful Virtual Assistant, where she shares invaluable insights on building successful VA client relationships. She's a trailblazing entrepreneur, recently launching her Stack Licensor program, which allows virtual assistants to license her proven business model. Melissa has been recognized by major platforms like ABC, NBC, Forbes, and Entrepreneur, and was named one of the top 10 most inspiring women in business. Today, she'll offer actionable advice on leveraging virtual assistants to scale your business and insights into building a sustainable VA business. Get ready for a wealth of practical knowledge from one of the top leaders in the virtual assistant industry. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thanks for having me, Bethany. Excited to be here.
I always worry I'm going to run out of air when I'm reading an introduction. The longer, the more red in the face I get. All right, let's start the show off with our random question, 1 to 5.
Okay, I was prepared. I'm a second child. That's 3. I'm going to pick 2.
2. Oh, what's the most creative excuse to get out of doing something you didn't want to do?
Oh, I tell people I suck at it. I use that now. I'm like, oh, sure, I totally suck at it. It was
totally do off for you, but
not big deal. You look like doing it. It'd probably be a waste of time. But if you just can't find anybody and you're okay with all those other things, then okay. No one ever takes me up on it.
Because now they're worried.
When you tell someone that you suck at something and you're like totally okay with it, because some people say, I'm not really good and I could probably watch a video or something. It gives people hope that maybe you're just dumbing it down. Maybe you're trying to be humble. You don't want to be braggy. But when you're just like, I totally suck at that and I don't even want to be good at it, it's a game changer.
I love it. Direct. You started as a VA yourself, right? And you've transitioned to basically helping others learn how to be a VA and consulting with businesses. Can you share how your journey began? What inspired you to go this direction?
It was not what I would call like a fun, inspirational journey. It was not like, oh, this is so great. I found this thing and I stumbled upon it. And what if? I was very happy. I was an executive assistant. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I went to secretary school. I was living my best life as an EA and thought that's what I'll be doing forever. But my husband had recently passed away and we had a lot of transition in the family. I had a teenage daughter in high school. My son at the time was a freshman in college. By this time, he was a sophomore. There was just so much going on. And we were living in Georgia. We moved back to my home state in California. And I had a job that I loved. I thought I would be there forever. The average person worked at that company for 29 years. So I thought, I totally found my place. And they were awesome. But then my daughter said, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to move back home. I want to graduate with my friends. And I knew I had to give that to her. So I went to my boss to give my 2 weeks notice. And he said, we don't want to lose you. How can we keep you? And I said, I can do most of what I do virtually. I don't have to be here in the office. And he said, okay, let's do that. And I had always said I would never own my own business. I had family who were in the restaurant business and construction business, and it was awful. Like you were just married to it. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. I was like, that will not be my life. This is horrible. So when I had a taste of freedom and flexibility as a virtual assistant, I was like, oh my gosh, now I want it all. Like doing Pinterest just to give me a little bit because now I want it all. And we had to sign contracts every year. And my contract came around and I said, I'm not going to sign it. I got to do this. I got to see if I could do this for myself, if I can do it for you all. They were super supportive. They told me I had a job there anytime I wanted to come back. But I finished up my contract and I started my own VA. And I can tell you that first year in business is a joke I can only laugh about now. I've never coached anyone or consulted anyone to start a business the way I did. Never happened. Just jump blindly into it, not having a plan, not knowing what you're doing. I've never coached anyone to do it the way I did it. But I do coach for the mindset and I do consult for the mindset. And that is commit to what you're going to be doing. You don't have to commit to full time. You don't have to commit to leaving your job. But if you're going to do it, you have to commit to it because it will get hard. It will get hard even if your business is exploding. You'll have growing pains. And someone might say, that's easy. I have met with people who were just, their business imploded because of it.
Yeah.
You can do what you love and still have challenges. It will feel like you are working on days. Don't be fooled by that. But you just have to commit to it. And if you make a small commitment, then great. If you make a large commitment, then great. But whatever you're going to do, just commit to it. And that's really what got me through. My mantra, my affirmation was, I did not start to stop. And my family needed it. I needed it for me. And it turned out being the best thing I ever did.
Well, Ty, your book, Hire the Right Virtual Assistant, it's a guide basically for business owners. Give us some top tips for hiring the right virtual assistant for our business.
Yeah, really exciting. I was just at an event with my client and one of his clients came up to me and said, your book changed my life. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And one of the things that he said was, I knew what I was looking for. I didn't know what to watch out for. So what he got from the book was really the red flags and what you're looking out for, things that he had not considered because he was doing it very methodically, but not also emotionally or holistically based on his energy levels and the kind of work that he does. He is very task oriented, duties oriented. And so the first thing that I tell clients is, what is your preferred method of communication? And the number one answer clients give is, oh, there's just so many different ways. It just really depends. I said, okay, you're walking through the grocery store and you think, oh, I forgot to tell my VA this. What is that? I'm like, I just want to text. I just want to call. Okay, great. You need a VA who is available by phone or by text. If that's how you want to do it, then that's it. If someone says, look, nuance, I'm like, that's great. But if you're walking through the grocery store and you forget something that needs to be done, you just want to be able to do that. And what is that way for you? And some people, like, if it was me, I would email. I wouldn't call. I wouldn't text. I would send an email. There are times where you're like, I really want to get on a Zoom. I really want to do those things. That's fine. There's different levels of communication. So you have to cover what is your preferred method and then go on, how then do I want to meet and how do I want to exchange information? So do I like to have debrief meetings? Do I like to have brainstorm meetings? If you're like EOS, do I like to have IDS L10 sessions? So really uncovering that, because I've seen far too many instances where the VA has a system that doesn't match the clients, and it's just like the tail wagging the dog. It doesn't work for anybody. If it can't be easy for you to communicate, it's just not going to work out.
So how do we determine that? Are there some key questions we need to ask when interviewing a VA?
No, you just need to tell them. This is how I communicate. Is that how you like to communicate? Anyone who says, no, I don't like to communicate like that, then great. That shouldn't be a problem. I actually lead with that in a lot of my job descriptions. Just for instance, I have different platforms that I like to use, that I don't like to use. If a client for me is super platform heavy, they are not my person. I hate logging into platforms. I don't like technology. I don't geek out on it at all. Like, it's just not a good match. So there's all these things that you need to tell that will really help the person self-identify. So you need to be bold with it and not worry about who you're not going to attract, because that's the wrong person anyways. Because the right person is going to say, wow, this is my person. Oh, this is the second thing that is most commonly asked is, what can a VA do for me? And it's just the wrong question. I understand where it comes from. I don't mean to make anyone feel bad. You went to car shopping and you walked on the lot and you told the salesperson, I'm looking for a car. They would say, okay, what kind of car are you looking for? You wouldn't just say, just tell me what you got. No one would say that, because anyone who would never want a minivan, you would say, show me anything but a minivan. Or if you're like, I only want to see sports cars. I only want to see 4 doors. I need an SUV. Like, you at least have some idea. And so I really like clients to reverse engineer the process. Instead of asking what a VA can do, because it's endless, reverse engineer it for yourself. Think, if I could wave a magic wand and this person could make my life easier, I would not have to do this thing anymore, then that's where you start. From there, you can add on to it. And then the final tip, and this is probably one of the most important things, because this is what trips people up. And they'll say, it's not a lot of work. It's only 5 hours a week. Great. That's even better. Who wants to have to hire someone full time? 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month? Brilliant. And to have your energy levels back, to have your productivity skyrocket, to only be doing the things you love, that's the goal. The goal is just that. Productivity is measured in energy levels, not by how much you check off your to-do list. And so when I tell clients they can hire a VA for 5 to 10 hours a week, you can retain a VA for as little as 10 hours a month, it feels like this weight has been lifted for a lot of them. And then as soon as that leaves, then their next question is, but is that really impactful? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you think about your energy in that task that it does not take you very long, but you hate it and it sucks the life out of you, and then you procrastinate on that. And let me tell you, procrastination does not end at your work. I myself, guilty of procrastinating sometimes. And let me tell you, the house has never been so clean as when I procrastinated on something at work that I did not want to do.
I clean when I'm upset. So if I get upset about something, I'm washing dishes.
I will reorganize those closets like
Yeah.
no one's business when I'm procrastinating on something else. It's not that you can't do something, but I have a client right now. He's a solo practice consultant, sales. He does over 4 million a year by himself because he has a VA. He wouldn't think of doing anything that zapped his energy, not even for a moment. He could do a lot. He's super smart. He's not a dumb person, but he knows not just what his time is worth, but what his energy is worth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the value comes in. And he does not work around the clock. He's married. He has 2 teenagers. He's very busy, and he does not mess around with his energy levels. He was very careful about them.
I used to have we used to all be in the office together, and then COVID and all the things, we've all gone remote. I actually have my office up for sale now, but it also meant that I lost my assistant because they were in the office with me.
Mm.
So I recently hired a full-time VA, which has been great. I will say I'm used to working with a team. I'm used to hiring people and training people and doing out. A lot of business owners aren't. If you're a solopreneur and you're starting to need a little more assistance, like you were talking about, the 20 hours a week or whatever, you might not have ever worked with someone like that before in your business. One, it's hard for business owners a lot to delegate and let go of the control a little bit to someone else. But could you give some tips for people in terms of maintaining that productivity and a healthy relationship with the VA, communication, things like that? What would you advise?
Yeah. Some people are natural delegators. There's just no denying that. There are other people like myself who consider delegation work. It's exhausting trying to come up with things for someone else to do. I just want to be able to say, in my case, I need someone to manage this technology. I need someone to edit this. I need someone to create these PowerPoints. I don't want to have to go into details about that. You should be able to look through my stuff and be able to see, ask me questions, treat me like I'm the client, pull what you need out of me, and then get to work. Do I expect it to be right on the first try? No. I expect it to be close. I expect you to come to me with, I'm on this track. Is this like the right track to you? Yeah. And then I don't do anything that's ever perfect the first time. And so then we're like, great, here's what we need. Let's get going. And we're off to the races. Delegation is a huge energy drainer. So when people ask me, what's the measure of a good assistant? And the measure of a good assistant, whether human or AI, is always the same. It's their ability to anticipate your needs. So I might say to someone, I need this product set up in my cart. And a task taker, not a true assistant, but a task taker will set that up. A true assistant will say, great. Are you going to be writing the emails? Go along with that product. Who is going to connect it to XYZ? What have you thought about for the campaign to follow up? Like, they don't see it just as a product. They see it as a funnel, which it is. And so those are the people that I hire. And those are the types of individuals that I match with my clients, because it doesn't come up with delegation anymore. I share my vision and they share with me what I need and what they need from me in order to make that vision a reality. And I'm not good at managing people. I'm not a good manager. I don't enjoy it. I think it's an amazing skill set. My sister is the best manager ever. I don't know how she does it, but I am a good leader. I know how to lead people. I know how to share vision. I know how to create the space for that. But I'm always looking for the VA. My clients are looking for the VAs that come in and think, oh, you have this meeting that needs to be done. They see the agenda. They see the items on the agenda. They see that you're going to review in a PowerPoint. So that means they know, where is this PowerPoint at? Who's completing it? We see that we're going to have lunch. Who's ordering lunch? Who's of the room? Where's the travel? Like, it's not just the one thing. They can see that and break it apart. And that is really what makes all the difference in the world. Now, if you are a good delegator, then I like to have a good project management system in place. So I don't like to use them myself personally, but other VAs really love them. And that is a great way to still manage that energy and then just be checking things off the list, because good delegators will come up with so many things to delegate. And because they typically are just like firing them off really quickly, it can skew the level of priority. So I like to see them and I will write them down, and then we will review priority. It's not the one that's most urgent, the one that you gave to me the last. Let me know, this is the priority that I see. Is this the priority that you have? And they may think, oh, no, change that around because that meeting got moved up, or I decided I don't want to do that anymore. So it's nice to have it written down just for priority's sake. Once everyone can see how long that list is, then we can get on the page really quickly.
That kind of goes along with what I was going to ask you about technology. Are there tools and things that you recommend for business owners to use for communication, for task management, all those kind of things? I know you said you're going to.
If they're using them already, then yes. If you have a system that works for you, then yes, have the VA use your system. And I tell people it, because some people are very partial to certain systems. Like, some VAs won't work with you if you work in Outlook. They just don't like it. It's so different from Gmail. I have to use Outlook now with one of my clients, and I haven't used it in 14 years, which means I've never used it forever. So it's very challenging, but everyone's working that out, because none of us have worked in it for a while. Now, if it's not natural to you, don't start. It's okay to not, as a business owner, to not want to have to use the technology, even if you need it. That's what your VA is for. So again, I have a client right now, and he thought, you know what, I'm gonna use Asana. I'm gonna try it out. It's just not working. He's just not doing it. And but everyone says it's so great, and was you working for someone else? There must be something wrong with me. And I'm like, no, do you know how hard it is to change a habit? It's just based on habits here.
Mhm.
You're working, you're going from here to there, you're constantly, and you want to stop all that to have a new habit when what you were working was fine. If someone else needs to use a system, right? If you're using QuickBooks, the business owner may not have to know how to use it well or even want to use it well, but the VA does. If the business owner does not have any processes or systems and wants to create them, then what they do is they just come together. The VA will make their recommendations. It's just fair warning. It's going to be totally biased of what they love. That's totally fine. And then they present the pros and cons to their client and say, here's the pros and cons. Here's what I like about this one. Here's what I don't like about this one. This one has limitations. The client can come back and say, are there any that are not on this list that are really popular, but you just didn't add them? And then from there, they can agree. But the how you do the work should come down again to your communication strategy, to your habits, and what you're already doing. If I trained for a marathon last year, I didn't train for it because I hadn't run half marathon or a 10K or a 5K. But to say, you know what, I think I'm gonna run a marathon. That would be crazy. Let's start with baby steps. Let's start by just jogging for 5 minutes first before we take on such a big thing. And it's hard because even if you don't think of it as this bright, shiny object, the idea that it could make you better, it could make you more efficient, but it's dieting and exercise. The one that works for you is the one that works. The moment that you start to change that and it's outside your habits, you have to learn new things, and you're starting to work against yourself. If you really want to change, I've never met a client who wants to do this, but if you really want to change, then know that you're going to have to tell your VA, I want to change this. You're going to have to tell me to do this over and over again. You're going to have to reinforce this on every turn. But I've just never had anyone who thinks that their business habits are so bad and they're so successful that they need to hire more people that they want to change.
So one of the things when I hired my VA is it's training. Training is a big part of that. We're a marketing agency and we have different clients and they're all different brands, different processes, all that. It's a bit of a learning curve for anyone coming on board. I used a lot of video where I just videotaped my screen and showed step by step what that process was. Do you have some other strategies or tips that you could give for that training process? Because that I think is really key. If the VA feels like I'm not getting enough information to do what I need to do, it's frustrating for both sides.
I think that's the perfect strategy. It's never been easier to do screen shares. It's never been easier to do videos and recordings and how-tos. It's also one of the easiest ways to update something when these processes and systems change that they inevitably do. Whether you're making an upgrade or the system itself changes, instead of writing a whole new technical manual, you can do that. I would suggest creating short videos, really, instead of writing long technical manuals, I would write some things and then I would video the actual steps. And this really takes a lot of the guesswork out because the curse of knowledge is real, even when we're training. If we're going to train in that style, we have to know people's mindsets in that style. And people's mindsets in that style is not to use common sense. It's to follow the instructions. If you don't say, then click here, people will not click here. So it's very technical. So the screen sharing is just amazing. One of the things I also like to incorporate is what happens if this happens? You may not have an example to show on video, but just letting someone know, one time I came across this issue. I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened, but if you ever come across this, let me know. Super helpful. The other thing is, why are we doing it this way? A good VA should love efficiency. If they don't care about efficiency, that is a huge red flag. So they actually want to know, why is this the process? Why do we do these things? And it doesn't have to be this big, long thing. It doesn't have to be for every section or every video that you do. But why do we do these things? Because we're trying to create a certain user experience. We're trying to make sure that our clients are taken care of. We don't want anything to fall through the cracks. This is my proven method and formula. Don't change it. They're very specific things. And so if we know that going in, again, it's creating that vision and leadership we get buy-in. But if you can't tell someone why it is you do it this way, then they don't have that same kind of buy-in. And doesn't mean they won't do the work, but it means that they won't see how their work is impacting your business. And you want people, whether employees or VAs, to know how they're positively impacting their experience, client's experience, And also, it's the perfect time to say, we don't like the system. It's a little clunky. We haven't found a better version. So if you know of a better version, please show us and provide us a demo how this might work for us. So don't just bring us solutions, right? That's really common for a VA to say, and not so good. But you can say, there's a better software. Why is it better? Show me why it's better. Tell me. Is it better because you like to use it better? Is it more convenient for you? Because anyone who knows why you do something will know what they have to measure up to whenever they come to you with a suggestion. It's an absolutely good suggestion, but they should know and be able to get your attention by saying, hey, I know we do this so that the end user has the best experience. And I know they say they really like when we do this. I heard of this product. I researched it. I found it. And here's what it does. I think it might amplify that. Do you want me to share it with you? Like, those are the type of questions and solutions and problems that a VA should be bringing to you.
You know, the VA space has gotten pretty competitive. At one point, it was a very novel idea. It was very new, but now there's a lot of people in the VA space, a lot of companies in the VA space. But where do you see the role of VAs going 5 to 10 years from now? How do you see your industry evolving?
Oh, it's growing by leaps and bounds. It really is. Meanwhile, the administrative assistant role is sadly decreasing every year. And I say that as a proud assistant. My mom was an assistant. It's not something that I take lightly, but prior to COVID, people thought what I did was crazy. They thought I could provide no value. They thought it was actually a step down. And I used to do these events, and I actually stopped doing them because they're like grilling sessions. They thought that there was no value in being a VA at all. And I was trying to help them. And I would literally say, do you know your value? And they're like, the office couldn't run without me. And I would tell them, what are you going to do when there's no office? But they had no answer. And that was really eye-opening to me. And I never predicted COVID, but the studies were out and the money trail was to go without an office. It's a long money trail. And so now COVID jump-started the VA industry in a way that, again, never could have predicted. And there's just so much opportunity. When we think about the jobs that we don't know that we have in the future, it's the same for VAs. We don't really know what they're going to be doing next, but I can tell you the biggest thing for this year, and I don't see it changing for next year, are VAs who know how to utilize AI. So there's not a company that I've met. I can't watch Bloomberg or C-SPAN or MSNBC or anything without someone talking about AI. And companies want to know how to use it. They don't want to be left behind anymore. And Canva, I think, what did they triple their prices? It's really high. And they said their AI is worth it. They didn't bat an eye at those price changes because of the AI incorporation. The problem with that is people want to use AI. Business owners want to use AI. They don't know how. It's built in and they're still not using those enhancements. And so the VAs who know how to use the built-in enhancements that these companies are spending millions of dollars on to benefit their clients will have an edge over other VAs, hands down.
Yeah. I think another area too for VAs too, as we evolve, I think we're seeing more specialty and niche VAs where if you specialize in a particular industry or a particular area of an industry, I think that creates more value because it's like you can be a doctor or you could be a heart surgeon. There's a difference there in what you can charge, right?
I say that same exact thing. I say the same exact thing. It's funny, I might use brain surgeon, but I say the same thing. The riches are in the niches. And you know what? As clients run these businesses and they get really lean and things are happening, you don't want the person, and no one goes searching for the person who does everything. If you're like, you know what? I need a Monday.com specialist. You just Monday.com VA. That's as simple as it is. And VAs have fought me on this forever. And the reason that they do, and it's so hard for them, but the successful ones finally do make that switch, is because it's the opposite of being an EA. It's the opposite. I
Right.
fought my coach on it when I first started. I'm like, what are you telling me? If I told my boss, I'm going to do less and charge you more, they would fire me. And she said, you don't have an employer anymore. Are you going to fire you? And it was so eye-opening, but it's ingrained into you. The best EAs, they're everything. They're the jack or Jill of all trades. You take that away from us and you're taking away this core thing that makes us who we are. And that's one of the reasons EAs and BAs are not the same. They're like cousins. They are not the same though. And it takes a while for VAs to transition. I think that's probably the one thing I did faster than a few VAs. And the reason I did is just because I saw the money trail. I saw it when I was matching clients to virtual assistants. No one was doing that. I did it for a year before I knew I could charge for it because I didn't even know that was something because it was so niche. No one was doing it. But yeah, there's
With business owners too. Business owners we're always talking to them about target your audience, drill down into that vertical or that niche or that whatever. And they're like, no, everybody's my client. No, we're not your client. As we wrap up, what are one or two key takeaways that you like business owners to remember about hiring a VA or working with VA? What's really important for them, for the folks out there listening to remember?
the first thing that's to remember is you don't have to remember it all. You don't have to commit this to memory. You don't have to be an expert in it. I wrote a book on the subject. You can find me on LinkedIn. I've written tons of articles there. You can reach out to me. Happy to chat with you. But you can keep on learning and become the expert in what you do. You don't have to be the expert in hiring a VA to hire the right VA. And the second thing is it's better to start small. It's better to hire a VA before you need one. Everyone always asks, when's the perfect time to hire the VA? Before you need one. By the time you need one, then the biggest complaint the clients say is, now I'm too busy. I got all this work. I have my family, I have my business, I have clients, I'm working nights, I'm working weekends. They can't get off the hamster wheel even to hire a VA, and that inevitably leads to burnout.
When I hired my VA, that I wouldn't have enough work to keep them busy 40 hours, commit to that full time. And I started to think about it. And the analogy that came to me, it's like moving into a bigger house. You might have lots of room to start with, but man, you fill up those closets really fast. And so you expand into the space or the capability that you have. And that's definitely been the case. And she is always busy. Yeah. So that truth happened. So where can people find you? Where can they buy your book?
Yes, my books are available on Amazon. You can find me at thepva.com. You can email me, melissa@thepva.com. And I live on LinkedIn. It's Melissa Smith, the PVA.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.